I hope you're a scary movie fan because today we're talking about fear. Wait, hold up. Don't start the intro music yet. I just want to say one thing here really quick. I want you to think about when we're going into these next three subjects here that these right here are going to be the pillars that build up these ones. You're going to be noticing a lot of similarities that carry over from those into the expressions on this one. All right, now start the theme song. All right, guys, if you haven't watched the first three videos in this series yet, I do recommend you go check them out. You don't have to. But what I'm saying here is you're going to start noticing some common themes when it comes to visualizing these expressions. Now, when it does come to visualizing these expressions, it's really helpful to know what these expressions are and what they mean. So before we look at the pretty pictures, let's look at some pretty words here. And the definition I found for fear is an emotion induced by perceived danger or threat, which causes psychological changes and ultimately behavioral changes such as mounting an aggressive response or fleeing the threat. Now, this sounds pretty intense, right? But think about the last time you were actually scared by something, not movie scared. It's a pretty intense feeling. And that's kind of what we want to get at. It can be a funny thing. We can picture it as funny. It can be something that we want to know that it can kick up the intensity in the story we're telling too. So we're in the last videos where I would say that whatever particular emotion we're talking about has a range where it goes from, 0 to 100, whatever it is. And we have different phases and expressions that lead up to that range. Well, fear is kind of different. We do have, kind of scared, really scared. We do have a range there. But I think fear also encompasses a lot more. So I think the best strategy when thinking about fear is think about what kind of fear and how intense is the situation. There's definitely, again, like you're watching a scary movie and you already know you're going to be scared, that kind of fear. But then there's also the fear of you heard something fall down when you're about to go to sleep and you don't know what that noise was. And that's a whole different level. And those are also very different feelings. And how can you express those feelings visually? Now, love them or hate them, emojis are a great way to practice looking at emotions. So once again, flower, would you like to take it away? Let's pop in a generic flower up top there for reference. And there we go. Okay, so starting with the first one, again, we want to think of things as on a range, right? And, different types of scared. So what are you going to accomplish? Take this and apply it to your own characters. Try it on different faces, real faces, fake faces. See how you can kind of translate the emoji into being something that you want it to be. Now, I really like these emojis because I think they do kind of, they mean different things. You're not going to use them in the exact same context. Where I was experimenting with was stuff like, should the eyes be open? Should the eyes be closed? What kind of shock are we dealing with? And I really kind of wanted to save that big open eye expression for that last one you guys can see there. We got a full-on scream kind of fear going on. And then again, too, you always want to be thinking, how can you amp it up? When you're going to the most intense level, how can you amp it up? And it's always going to come back to body language. Once you've pushed the face as far as you can go, body language. What are the hands doing? How's the body expressing itself? How's the body scared? So again, we're going to look at some silly cartoons here, but I want you guys to think about something really specific when you're looking at these images. I want you guys to think about, what did you feel when you saw this happening in front of you in the show, the cartoon, the movie, whatever it is? Did you have a sense of you were laughing because they were scared, or did their fear actually make you feel fear in that moment? So, before we get to our drawing, I'm going to have to draw some lines on this guy's face, and we're going to figure out, what does being scared look like? So now I do want to say this is an extreme example, but let's break this down and then we can always find an in-between point when we go to less extreme examples. All right, now first thing you're going to notice is pretty much everything that we learned in the last couple videos is out the window here. The face is being expanded in both this direction and this direction. You want to think of fright or fear as an awakening experience. It's something that you want to be as wide awake for as possible, as alert, as open as you can keep your eyes, right? So just like this guy, his face is opening up, expanding, his mouth is reacting. So everything's dropping here. And again, this is going to mess with our proportions. So if we bring back our helper from last week, where we can clearly see that supposedly the eyes are supposed to be the halfway point of the head. Now, if we took that and we went from here We created our line down to the chin from the eye. And now we take this point and we're gonna put the bottom point on the eye. It's pretty obvious that this point, well, it's a little bit higher than the head, right? So now why this isn't making any drastic differences, we do want to be aware of it, that things are getting longer in proportion. So that way you can add that to your picture and it's really gonna help enhance that feeling of fear. Now, last couple things, look at how the eyebrows and the brow line interact with what's going on with the face. You can usually find a really nice, interesting curve there. Again, you're kind of getting a wide eye experience here, so the rounder you can get those eyes, generally the better. Another thing too is when you have an eye, the smaller you can make the pupil in that eye is going to help with the shock. The more of the white of the eye you can see. We're sticking with our flared nostrils here for the most part. Generally, when people are shocked, they kind of throw their head back, so you do see a lot of nostril. And then, of course, you kind of have this upside down smile of a opening for the mouth. And sometimes it depends on who you're looking at. You're going to get some of those intense kind of wrinkle lines across the cheek. All right, so two things here I want to mention. First thing, sorry for the quality of a couple of the pictures here. I just felt like some of the best expressive looks ended up being really low quality pictures. I'm sorry, but you know what? We're artists, right? So we don't need the reference that much. It's just there to kind of suggest, and we're there to fill it in. Second, I don't know how to say this in a more proper way, but I had a really crappy drawing day or week. I don't know. I've just kind of felt a little off on my drawing. Sometimes it happens. You get artist block or whatever it is, or maybe you just don't feel confident going into a picture. And I could have sat here and spent hours redrawing until I got like the perfect drawing that I wanted, but sometimes I feel like artists don't really expose themselves to this. So I left it in here, guys. I left it all in here, so you guys are going to see what it is. Anyways, let me get back to talking about expressions. So we're talking about fear here, and this is going to be our more timid, our less on that scale of 0 to intense. We're going to be closer to that 0 on this one. So everything in a little scared. Maybe she's like anticipating something. Maybe something bad just happened. She's like, ooh, kind of like it's not quite sure if it should be a scared fear yet. So we got to try to find a way to accomplish conveying that feeling. Sometimes the more timid, the less intense ones are actually harder because you can't be so expressive with the face. Now again, this isn't about proportions. This is about just trying to capture the expression on the face there. I was overdoing it in my head with the proportions, and I was getting it wrong because I was overthinking it in my head. Generally, when you overthink something, it's kind of your brain telling you, hey, like, chill. But anyways, you guys kind of see that my proportions are off. Like, I just got like a longer face and stuff. But going in here, really what sells this as something that's like fearful, because she doesn't really have too, I don't know, she doesn't have too fearful of like eyebrows. She doesn't have like a long face. Her mouth is open, but it's not like shocked open, right? Like her jaw didn't drop or something, right? So what we're seeing is mainly this hiding behind the hand with the fingers kind of in the mouth or around the mouth. Is mainly what we're looking at. This is mainly going to be the characteristic that is going to give it away to us. Now, what you can see here is I'm cleaning up the drawing that I disliked. So, again, I just wanted to make sure I left this in here for you guys. It happens. I don't want you guys to think that if you've ever had a bad drawing day, you're the only one that experiences that. I do feel like there's so much content out there where the artists are just like knocking out beautiful, amazing things, and they never show the bad stuff. So, I wanted to show you guys how I fixed it. Still, I could go in there and fix it a ton. It's not something that I'm going to call my Mona Lisa, obviously. But again, we're just here for practice, right? So on to our more exaggerated one we go. All right, so we're just going to kick up the exaggeration a little bit on this one. We're going to stick kind of close to what we're seeing for the most part. But I just wanted to kind of, I like to kick up the features. I like to make features bigger too, especially nose. I don't know why when I'm going for exaggeration, you guys might notice in my last video, I tend to start around the nose area. I think it's just because I like to build the face up from this, like, that kind of, it's not the center point, but like the visual center point of the face, right? It's in between two facial features that we look at the most, the mouth and the eyes. So I don't know why, it's just my anchor point. Now, again, if this is about fear and I'm going to play up the fear element, well, what are we going to look at? Probably a bigger mouth, right? I'm going to play with the fingers in the mouth idea. If you wanted to go really cartoony, like think Scooby-Doo when they're scared, right? You could think of like the nail biting thing that they would do. So maybe you could even turn the hand around a little more and have like the nails flying everywhere. You guys can definitely play with this however you like. So other than that, yeah, I just kind of played with the features. Definitely played with the head shape a little bit. So she had a head, like she has like nice big cheeks, and then her head kind of gets smaller as it goes up there. So I just kind of wanted to play with that shape a little bit, if that makes sense. It's almost like a pear shape, but you know, not quite, because just a little rounder on the bottom, but we didn't get super skinny on the top or anything. And then I really wanted to play with the eyes kind of going off on a little more of an angle. So sometimes they, in shock, well, not in shock, sorry, in this timid expression here, you kind of back away, right? Your expression kind of is a little standoffish, and so your eyes kind of become closed, a little squinted in this one. And I was talking about, like, you know, straight up scare, you're going to be awake, your eyes are going to be open, but this is before that moment. This is like, ooh, is it a bad moment? So she's kind of hiding behind her eyes. So I wanted to push up her bottom lid a little bit. So that's what I did there. Just kind of push that up. And then again, not my best drawing, but we move on. All right, probably my favorite picture of the day, because this is just like, I mean, I might use this one again for the shock category. I don't know. It's perfect. But anyways, this guy has a perfect face on him for this. So usually I save the no exaggeration one for the end, but we're going to throw it in here first. So this is the one where, if you guys are following along with what I'm doing, this is where we're going to go a little exaggerated. I'm going to push my proportions here a little bit. And we're just going to kind of play up these elements. So first things first, a lot of the faces we've been looking at in the past videos, kind of straight on, right? Had a lot of straight on expressions. We're dealing now with some off to the side, 3/4 view kind of. This isn't quite a 3/4, but it's getting into that zone. So take your time building these proportions up a little bit if you want this accurate angle. This isn't a front-facing view, so don't draw a front-facing view. Challenge yourself, you know? Again, this is practice in all senses. So we're practicing expressions, but there's no reason you can't practice your portraiture as well. All right, so we used this guy. We broke him down for what is fear, right? And what does it do to us? So we have those elements fresh in our head. What are some of the things that we're going to make sure we play up? Well, this guy, he just jumped back or something a little bit, right? His chin is tucked. His head is kind of lifting up a little bit. We're getting an under angle, which kind of also adds to the moment of like fear, is when the camera is a little bit below the person that we're looking at. So we're getting a view at the nostrils there. And again, you just kind of want to play up the element of like nice long face. Remember, the proportions completely changed here. So how can you make that work for you? Play up the mouth a little bit, whatever you want to do. I was really just making little tweaks here and there. The guy's face is already super exaggerated, so like realistically, even if you just kind of stick to his proportions, you're gonna be good. Alright, so I really wanted to play up that arch effect that I was talking about, where like his nose leads into like that nice kind of like semicircle that his eyebrows follow, which again, it's just kind of like, if you guys can see that line that I'm drawing the eyes on right now, that was supposed to be the eyebrow line in proportion. So you can see how high I knocked up his eyebrows. So again, we're really playing with that idea of like the face expanding and opening up, right? So like really think about that. Look in the mirror and like open your mouth as wide as you can and raise your eyebrows. See how high they go. Is it significant? For some people it's not. Some people can really express their face, some people can't. It's kind of interesting to know. But that's what I'm playing up here, and then I'm just gonna kind of play up some of the just general facial features, right? Like the stretching around the mouth, and his chin's tucked, so maybe some of that skin folding into itself. I also really like the outfit, so maybe we'll get in there and do a little bit of the outfit. I feel like a lot of what's going on with the neck too kind of tells us a little bit of a story as well. So we'll block in some of his hair as a framing element here. Isn't a hair video, but just, tip while it's happening. Keep it simple. Then you can go in and make it complex. But at first, keep it simple. All right, so just a little bit of a neck figuring out here. Because again, if his head is being thrown back because he is scared, his neck's going to play a huge role in that. All right, we'll move on to our last picture of the day here. Now remember in the beginning of the video where I said we're going to have some similarities to the last ones? Check this face out. Does it not have some remnants of like a sad effect to it, right? And again, if you think about it, sometimes fear is directly related to sadness or anger, right? Usually not happiness. I mean, some people do get off on scary movies. That's for a different topic. Anyways, so what we have going on here is just like, we're going to kind of bring some of that together. And if you guys did watch the last two videos, we did have a discussion about like that open mouth. So how can we play with that idea too? Now, this is also a pretty exaggerated face. So again, this one actually isn't going to have too exaggerated drawings here. I'm just going to kind of play with this one and make it exaggerated to an extent here. I'm going to play up the mouth feature for sure. Now, I didn't show this one when I was demoing what the facial features do when someone's scared, but remember, the proportions are elongated. If your mouth is open, especially as wide as she's opening her mouth, you have to understand that that chin is dropping down. So make the face longer. What I do to make this happen is I draw in my standard proportions, and then I either just add another line and I designate that's how long the chin's going to be, or I just go full into it and I draw that bottom lip where the chin was supposed to be. Okay, because we have our bottom lip line in our proportions. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my head proportions video. But we have our bottom lip line, and then we have our chin line. And what you're gonna do is just draw your bottom lip on that chin line and then just extend your chin as much as you want. Here you guys can see I could have gone a little more with the chin, but again, having her mouth almost like envelop her chin as well with the elongation kind of effect going on, it adds to it. We're playing it up, playing a little theater here. I think that's a really good way to kind of explain some of this stuff, is you should be thinking about like, what kind of elements are you adding to this? Now she has a different expression, right? She's scared, but she's kind of closed off a little bit. It's kind of with that mixture of sadness. She doesn't have like that wide eye kind of feeling that our last drawing had. So you guys can play this up as you want. I noticed when I drew in her eyes the way they are, I didn't get as great of a feeling of scared, if you know what I mean. So if I were to go and exaggerate this, I would probably make her eyes a little rounder and her pupils a little bit smaller. But I was only kind of playing, I was playing back and forth. Exaggeration, but a little realistic. Exaggeration, a little realistic. So playing a little bit of tennis here with myself on this drawing. All right, so I'm just kind of filling in some details. And just remember, when you're doing the eyebrows and stuff like that, they can be arched, or they can kind of fall into a little bit of like that sadness look where they kind of curve down on the side of the eye. These are kind of ways that you can add that element to it. Now again, open mouth, you're going to have like that nice kind of stretched cheek into chin area, so you can play up that element a little bit. And then you can kind of get into it. Again, I mean, you guys might have a different opinion here. I just felt like my drawings were really off today. So I left that in there for you guys. Let me know if you like that. I mean, there's definitely times where I've like redrawn stuff a million times just to get the perfect drawing for you guys, and I feel like I have to do that to you know, show the point I'm showing. But at the same time, sometimes I do want to show, hey, look, sometimes you have a crappy day, and you know, you just kind of push yourself through it and you keep going. But anyways, we're just gonna finish up some details here. I will be honest with you, I did try an exaggerated version of her. Sorry, more exaggerated version of her. And I just went into it with like no plan. And she fully came out looking like some sort of crazy cartoony like monkey. I really just overplayed up the mouth and then like was trying to make the other features smaller. It was a mess. It was a mess. I almost left it in, but I couldn't go that far for you guys. I'm sorry. I'll show you some of my smaller mistakes, but maybe it'll take me some time to show you the bigger mistakes. But overall, I hope this was helpful for you guys. I hope we kind of conquered some things. Maybe had some questions about fear that I answered. If not, though, you know, definitely let me know in the comments below. What about fear do you usually recognize when you're drawing it? Or if you have tips that I didn't mention in this video about fear, go ahead and put them in the comments below too. You never know, you might help someone out that's watching the video as well. All right, you guys can see that nothing's really happening right now. What's happening is I'm overanalyzing my picture. I'm about to raise that eye up. There you go. You know where I'm going with this. I'm just not going to explain it. Let's go to the next slide and get out of here. All right, guys, we made it. So again, you know, if you guys have any suggestions for future videos, go ahead and let me know down below. Let me know some helpful tips if you guys have any for expressions as well. We're going to be working on shock next. Wait a second. What is that? Holy shit, Flower, I'm going to kill